Well, I'm doing some more testing here on the Bluetti PV350 solar panels. Each panel cranks out 350 watts maximum. You know, I would say on average, I usually get about 320, maybe 325 on perfect conditions. And it's a nice fall day here in northern Wisconsin. And I would say it's damn near perfect conditions. About 68 degrees, so it's really not that hot. And I got these linked up in series, doing some more testing. And I got this hooked up to my cargo trailer camper conversion with my Bluetti AC200L and the B230 battery backup system. Well, I'm testing out how much voltage drop I'm getting. And I have two 20-foot extensions here, so one 20-footer, another 20-footer. Reason why I like to run my extension cables in chunks of 20, because say like I don't need to go that far to get into the sun, I could just run one 20-foot extension cable. You know, here is the negative and positive going into the camper, and I have one 20-footer and another 20-footer to get up to where the sun is, where my PV 350 solar panels are hooked up in series. But I wanted to check while we had some good sun here to get a solid idea of how much amperage I'm looking at. And it looks like I'm pushing about 8.5. And, you know, they're rated for a little under 10 amps each. And I got these hooked up in series. So that means I'm doubling the voltage and I'm keeping the same amperage. So right now I'm running some 10 AWG cable. So you can see here's one 20-foot cable. This is where it splices. Running another 20-footer up to here where I got this ran in series. Now you can either hook up your solar panels in series or in parallel. Now I am hooking this up in series because I want to keep the amperage the same but double the voltage. Just very important, you got to make sure, regardless of the solar panel that you have, or you know how you're hooking up in series or parallel, you got to make sure you don't exceed your VOC, or the amount of voltage coming out of your panels for what your Bluetti battery backup system's rated for. Now, just to give you a quick lowdown for those who aren't familiar with this, I got these hooked up in series. So here's my positive coming from the camper. It's hooking up to the positive of this PV350 panel. The negative coming off of that is hooking up to the positive of this panel, and then the negative off that panel is hooking up to the negative on my extension cable going back to my camper, and that's how it's working. Now another thing I wanted to do here was see how much voltage drop I'm getting using two 20-foot extension cables to get these panels in the sun. And right now I'm at 84.6. Now without the extension cables and plugged directly into the solar panels in series, I was getting 86.1. So if I take 84.6 or 84.5 here, divide that by 86.1, that's a little over 2% voltage drop I'm dealing with by using these two 20-foot extension cables. The longer your cables are, the more voltage drop you're going to get. And that's why I'm running these two PV350 solar panels in series, because I want to double the voltage. My AC200L can easily handle this. My 10 amp breaker that I have in my camper goes up to 110 volts, so I'm in the clear there. I double check the amperage, and my breaker in my camper is rated for 10 amps. I have these wires figured for 10 amps or less. Right now we're looking at 85 volts, just to give you an idea how much the voltage drop is. If I add any more wire to this, you're going to watch this voltage continue to drop, because the longer the cables get, the more voltage drop you're going to have. Now, word of precaution here, you should be always careful with really any electricity, but when the voltage definitely goes over 50 volts, it can be very dangerous. And we're at 84 volts, so 34 volts over that 50 volt mark. So you definitely need to be very, very cautious not to touch these wires, even though they're DC. We're talking 84 volts pushing 9 amps, maybe even 10 if these panels are running absolutely perfect. It can be very, very dangerous and can kill you. So you got to be very cautious with that. But the more important thing is make sure you check out your voltage to make sure you're not exceeding what your battery system, or in case this, my Bluetti lithium iron phosphate battery bank, can handle. And this is absolutely no problem. There's a little bit of haze here, but I'd say this is damn near perfect conditions. And at least with damn near 40 foot of extension cables here, you know, I'm getting roughly about 600 watts. And that's pretty darn cool. So I'm definitely getting some voltage drop. Not a lot, but a little. And if you checked out my previous video, I was pushing almost 650 watts with both of these in series. But I figured I'd just give some of you guys a lowdown of how I'm doing this. And it's nice, at least for me personally, to have the option, especially when you're camping. You want to, you know, put your camper in the shade, but get your solar panels out in the sun so you can keep your batteries powered up for your camping needs. But I figured I'd show this to you here. I'm pushing 8.5 amps, and at least right now about 580 watts coming in. So I was pushing 600 there for a little bit. But just to kind of show you some of those guys that haven't seen this. So here is those two positive and negative cables coming from outside. It goes to a 10 amp DC breaker. You get a little bit closer here. Looks like this breaker is rated up to 110 volts. If you can see that right here. And this is rated for 10 amps, so I'm definitely not over the volts. And I would say on average, on best, we're probably gonna be pushing 9 amps. So if this goes over 10 amps, you know, shut off automatically. And I kind of got this too, just so I had a ways to shut this off manually if I wanted to. But once again, to give you a quick lowdown on how this works, is here is those cables come from outside, goes through my breaker here. Positive and negatives go to their two terminals here. And you can see I got a negative and positive coming off of that. That goes down to the power cord adapter that goes into the AC 200L. And right now I got this at 71%. I currently do not have the B230 battery backup turned on, so let me turn that on. This is probably going to change here soon to let this settle down a little bit. Oh, roughly 2.4 hours with both of these synced together at 69%. At least with roughly 570 watts coming in, it's going to take 2.3 hours to get this up to 100%. So that's pretty darn cool. But yeah, I figured I'd just do another test here just to double check my amperage in some perfect conditions and give you guys a quick lowdown. Like I said, hope you guys learned something. If you did, subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next video.